So my purity test is maybe more lax than Jordan's, I would say. That's where most of the debates come in. It often centers around one specific senator, and I think you can guess, Elizabeth Warren, who has the most liberal voting record in the Senate, but, you know, whatever. Jordan thinks the words speak louder than her actions. I don't really know what that means.
Because my friend Emma here, Emma is a little bit more, I'd say, gives the benefit of the doubt to some progressives who have been letting us down recently. I don't want to revisit history because we've had our debates on Elizabeth Warren. However, I think you have to be progressive when it matters, not in photo ops.
What is Chuck Schumer's incentive to work with Bernie if Bernie is not giving him the political capital of standing on stage with him?
But Bernie had all the leverage.
Okay.
Bernie had all the capital.
Chuck Schumer's going to get reelected in New York, guaranteed, with all that corporate money. So what is his incentive to work with Bernie? And Bernie had, and they're a minority in the Senate and the House.
What is his incentive? Because working with Bernie, that's the only way you have a shot at bringing in our viewers, millennials, the blue collar workers you lost.
They've made it clear they don't care. So Bernie wants to get his agenda through. You have to sometimes work with people who and give what they want, give them what they want, which is a photo op with Bernie Sanders in order to get the ends that you want.
Right. Dakota Access Pipeline when Elizabeth Warren was silent. But let's make it broader than Elizabeth Warren. I have a problem with Bernie Sanders, who I love dearly. I know you're watching, Bernie, standing on stage with Chuck Schumer. Not because I'm petty.
The issue that you and I have always is you're focusing so much on the politic optics of it all. The only thing Bernie has ever cared about is the legislation that he's going to push through. We don't have... The Republicans are...
No, I think you're confused about what I'm saying. I don't care. My problem isn't that he's like the photo op with Chuck Schumer.
You know, from dog catcher to president are in power right now. Bernie is taking the Chuck Schumer wing with him because he wants to prevent disastrous policy. You said 14 million. I just read from CNN 24 million people are going to lose their health care. Like, as much as I want the progressive movement to move forward, I don't give a shit about the progressive movement if many millions and millions of Americans are hurt along the way. And that's the same thing that Bernie thinks.
Bernie could stand on stage with fucking Trump for all I care if it would get my goals and your goals done. It's not the fact that he's physically standing on stage with Chuck Schumer. The problem is everyone is laser focused on Trump, which is correct. I mean, the guy's a maniac. I even underestimated him on some things. I didn't know he was going to be that bad on the environment. But the problem also, I don't think Bernie publicly working with the establishment is actually pushing his legislative goals through. I don't.
Okay, so, well, Bernie has you say Bernie has the momentum, but you're saying it takes away from his momentum if he's standing on stage with Chuck Schumer.
That's not what I'm saying. I don't want the Chuck Schumers of the world. I don't want more of them being the alternative to Donald Trump, because then we're just back to where we were under Obama.
Yeah, but you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, you call me an incrementalist, fine.
I never said that.
Yes.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Yes.
I'm all for females being loud, proud, and just as aggressive as me. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, so, I come from and I don't mean to drop this on Jordan, but I loved political science. I liked studying it, and I think that he's throwing up. I think that there's something to be said for having a background in political science. As much as we can talk about a revolution, every revolution begins with legislative victories, and you can say, oh, I want this X, Y, and Z right now. But we are closer to universal health care. Wait, stop. We are closer to universal health care. We got the Democrats, many more Democrats since Bernie came into the race to endorse single payer and a public option. We also, Hillary Clinton, once she had all those concessions, once she won, including that really good college tuition plan for people making less than $128,000 for families with under $128,000. Yeah, that's not going to solve everything, but it is closer. We are better off than we were before for the progressive movement, and I know that may not be popular with the audience, but I'm telling you guys the truth. Like, that's how change comes about.
But we agree on that. Putting pressure on establishment corporate Democrats. I don't think you do that by publicly or out in the open working with the Chuck Schumers. It's not because I have a problem with him standing with Chuck Schumer. I feel that there's a threat that he is putting.
My last point is that Bernie Sanders was known as the Amendment King, meaning that he was able to slip more legislation into shitty corporate legislation than anyone in his entire history in both the House and the Senate. I trust his instincts in terms of moving the progressive movement throughout this corporatist party more than I trust the Rage Against the Machine aspects of a lot of, like the more emotional aspects of the movement. And I disagree.
But you're saying we agree about. I'm not saying Bernie Sanders should not work with these people. We're talking about the fact that he is publicly and openly.
I think you're overstating that.
Okay, well, if you are just a political person who does not watch politics all the time, you're just going to a rally because you're worried about your health care, right? Mm-hmm. If you see Bernie Sanders on stage with Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Dick Durbin, whomever, wouldn't you? We're almost done. Wouldn't you think? Oh, okay, these guys are good. If you're not political diehards.
I think that there's a difference between Chuck Schumer and someone who's actually going to get out of power in the next 2 or 4 years. Like, Chuck Schumer is the leader of the party and also is going to win until he dies.